Hello, my friends. How's everybody doing? Oh, what a day. What a day. We'll talk about it later. Glad to be here. Uh-oh. I've got to plug my phone in. Sorry, guys. There we go. Been a doozy of the day. I was actually thinking about maybe postponing tonight, but gotta be honest, I have a lot of fun reading, and I enjoy sharing this book with you, all the books with you, so I think it's going to be good for us to read together. I'm indulging in a sugar-free, whatever this is, Gatorade type drink, Powerade. Okay. So we left off part of the way through a chapter. I think we had about 4 or 5 pages to go. In chapter 29, Sam and John, number 4, they were in the cave and they saw a big, Stella's yelling at me. They saw a big room with, the farther they got in the cave, cat hair, the warmer it was getting. Then they saw like a big tunnel with the big grates or whatever, so they knew that's where the big monster thingies were. And then when we left off, Sam was starting to think that maybe this might be a place where his dad was. So look at all those cells, Sam says. I know he's thinking about his dad. Wait a second, I say. The solution flashing in my head out of nowhere. It's so obvious. What, Sam asks. Oh, and they're invisible. That's right. Oh, and then Sam had kicked that one dude off the little bridge that went over there's like a big gap, right? And Sam kicked him. I know where the chest is, I say. Seriously? So stupid of me, I whisper. Sam, if you pick just one place in this entire hellhole where you absolutely refuse to go, where would that be? In the pit with the howling beast, he answers without a second's hesitation. Exactly, I say. Come on, let's go. So I lead him back up the corridor. That will empty out at the cave center. But before we've left the cell behind, a door clangs open and Sam jerks his hand to stop me. Look, he says. The nearest cell door opens wide. 2 guards enter. They speak angrily for 10 seconds in their native tongue. Then they exit. They're clutching the arms of a pale, emaciated man in his late 20s. He's weak to the point of having trouble walking, and Sam's grip tightens as the guards shove him forward. One of them unlocks a second door, and all 3 disappear through it. Who do you think that they have locked up in here? He asks as I pull him forward. We got to go, Sam, I say. We don't have the time. They're torturing humans, John, he says when we finally reach the central hive. Human beings. I know, I say, scanning the mammoth room for the quickest route down. There are mogs everywhere. But I've been so used to passing by them that they no longer bother me. And besides, something tells me I'm about to find far scarier things than scouts and soldiers. People with families who probably have no idea where they've disappeared to, Sam whispers. I know, I say. Come on. We'll talk about it when we're out of here. Maybe 6 will have some sort of plan. We sprint around the spiral ledge and start down a tall ladder, but find it's nearly impossible to do so while holding the person's hand above. I look down. There's still a far way to go. We have to jump, I say to Sam. Otherwise, it'll take 10 minutes to get all the way down there. Jump, he asks incredulously. It'll kill us. Don't worry, I assure him. I'll catch you. How the hell are you going to catch me if I'm holding your hand the whole time? There isn't time to argue or debate. I take a deep breath and I leap down the ledge 100 feet above the cave's bottom. Sam howls, but the continuous clatter of manufacturing drowns out the noise. My feet hit the unyielding stone and the force knocks me backwards, but I keep a firm grip on Sam, who lands on top of me. Never again are we going to do that, he says, standing. The ground floor is so hot. I had some crackers. Now they get kind of caught in your gums. There we go. Got it. The ground floor is so hot, it's nearly impossible to breathe. But we sprint around the green lake towards the massive gate, keeping the beast locked away. When we reach it, a cool wind gusts through the bars. And I realize that the regular blasts of fresh air prevent any of the gas from entering this tunnel. John, I really don't think there's any time left, Sam pleads. I know, I say, letting a group of 10 or so Mogs exit ahead of us. We enter a dark tunnel. The wall looks mucus-covered, and barred chambers line each side of the shaft. Down the middle of the ceiling, 10 huge industrial fans blow, all pointed towards the entry we just came through, keeping the air cool and moist. Some of the locked chambers are small, though others are large, and bursting out of them are the feral and ferocious sounds. In the cage on our left are 20 or 30 krolls, jumping over one another while letting loose shrill yips. Imprisoned on the right is a pack of demonic-looking dogs the size of wolves, with yellow teeth and no hair. Besides them stands a creature that looks like a troll, complete with wart-covered nose. In the larger cell across the way is a massive python, not unlike the one who busted through the prison wall. That busted through the prison wall that morning, paces back and forth, sniffing the air. We might as well not even bother with the smaller rooms, I say. If my chest is here, it'll be in the biggest room at the end of this tunnel. I don't even want to take a guess at what kind of beast needs a door that large to fit through. We're down to seconds, John. We better hurry then, I say, pulling Sam forward while quickly taking in the different horrors corralled here. Gargoyle-like winged creatures, monsters with six arms and red skin. Several more pythons standing 20 feet tall. A wide reptilian mutant with trident-shaped horns. A monster with skin so transparent that its internal organs are on display. Whoa, I say, stopping at a group of round tanks and vessels, most of which are silver, though two are copper-colored and lined with heat gauges. Some kind of boiler room, I guess. So that's what's keeping this place going, Sam says. This has to be it, I reply. The tallest silo goes to the ceiling, and every tank is connected with heavy pipes, spouts, and aluminum ducts. Besides the silo, a control panel is affixed to the wall with a heap of electrical wires pouring out. Come on, Sam says, impatiently jerking my hand. Together we run the rest of the way to the tunnel's end. There's a massive door 40 or feet tall and a wide, made 40 to 50 feet tall and wide, made entirely of steel. To its right is a small wooden door. It's unlocked, and instantly I see why. Holy God, Sam whispers, taking in the beast's enormity. I momentarily stun myself, and all I can do is stare at it. A hulking mass slumped in the room's far corner. Its eyes are closed, and it breathes rhythmically. The beast must be 50 feet tall when standing, and from what I can tell, its dark body is shaped like a man's, but with much longer arms. I want nothing to do with this place, Sam says. You sure? I ask, nudging him so his gaze leaves the monster. Look. There in the center of the room at eye level atop a thick stone pedestal is my chest. and right beside it sits a second one, almost identical in appearance, both of them for the taking, except for the iron bars around them, which are housed beneath a humming and crackling electric force field surrounded by a mote of steaming green liquid, and the slumbering giant. That's not Six's chest, I say. What are you talking about? Who else's could it be? Sam asks. They found us, Sam, in Florida. They found us by opening Six's chest. Right, I know. But look at the padlock on it. Why would they put the lock back on a chest that probably had a hell of a time getting it off in the first place? I think that one's never been opened. Maybe you're right. It could be any of ours, I whisper, shaking my head while staring up at both of them. Number fives or nines or anyone else who isn't dead. So they stole the chest and didn't kill the guard, like they did with me. Or maybe the Mogs caught one of them and they're still being held here like Six was, I say. Sam doesn't get a chance to answer because just then the alarm on his wristwatch begins to beep. 3 seconds later, it's followed by the whine of 100 sirens echoing the wall of the caves. Aw, hell, I say, turning my head. I can see you, Sam. He nods, a panicked look on his face. He lets go of my hand. I can see you, too. When I look over Sam's shoulder, the beast's eyes have come open, black and white, narrowing in on our direction. Oh, uh-oh. Here we go. Back to Spain. New font. Chapter 30. The gunfire makes my ears ring long after it's stopped. Smoke rises from the end of the barrel, but Creighton wastes no time and drops the gun clip and snaps another in place. Stella, why are you ripping my hand apart? Heaping mounds of ash have given the air a thick haze. We stand waiting, Ella and I, behind Stella. Stop. Behind Creighton. He keeps the gun raised, his fingers hovering on the trigger. A Magadorian climbs into the entryway with a cannon of his own, but Creighton fires first, cutting him in half and hurling him backwards. The Magadorian explodes before he hits the wall. A second jumps into view, wielding the same flashing weapon that tore my shoulder downstairs. But Creighton disposes of it before any light comes forth. Well, they know where we are now. Come on, he yells, rushing forward and the door downstairs before I can offer to float us out the window. Ella and I follow, still holding hands. Creighton stops after the second curve of the stairwell, pressing his fingers to his eyes. There's too much ash in my eyes. I can't see anything, he says. Marina, take the lead. If there's anything up ahead, yell and get out of the way. I keep the chest tucked beneath my left arm and Ella stays in the middle, holding my hand and Creighton's. I lead them down and out the broken oak door just as the tower above us explodes. I scream, ducking down and pulling Ella with me. Creighton instinctively begins firing. The gun unloads a rapid stream of ammunition, 8 to 10 bullets per second. I see an entire group of Magadorians drop. Creighton stops firing. Marina, he asks, nodding his head forward without seeing me. I turn and study the hallway, thick with ash. I think it's clear, I say. The second the words leave my mouth, a Magadorian leaps out of an open doorway and fires, sending a flashing white meteor raging toward us, too bright to look at. We drop just in time, and the white death misses us by a hair. Creighton quickly lifts the gun and returns a barrage of bullets, killing the Magadorian instantly. I lead us forward. I have no idea how many of them Creighton just killed, but the ash stands thick on the floor, covering our feet and ankles. We pause at the top of the steps. Light from the windows come through the fading ash, and Creighton has cleared his eyes. He takes the lead position, clutching the gun tightly to his chest while staying behind the corner. Once we turn, all that separates us from the door leading outside are these steps, a short hallway and at the back of the nave, and the main vestibule. Creighton takes a deep breath, nods his head, then turns, dropping the barrel of the gun ready to fire. But there's nothing to fire at. Come on, he grunts. We follow him and he escorts us across the nave's rear, which is black with fire damage. For a brief moment, I glimpse at Adelena's body, looking small from as far away as we are. My heart aches seeing her. Be brave, Marina. Uh-oh, the coppers are driving by. Be brave, Marina, her words echo. An explosion erupts against the outside wall on our right side. The stones blow inward, and I instinctively lift my hand and prevent any of them from hitting Ella and me. But Creighton gets hit hard, and he smashes against the wall to our left, landing with a grunt. The gun rattles away from him, and a Magadorian enters the cathedral through the newly created hole. He's holding a cannon, and in one fluid motion, I leave the Magadorian back. I heave the Magadorian backwards with my mind, bring Creighton's gun into my hand, and I pull the trigger. The gun's kick is a lot harder than I expected, and I almost drop it. But I recover quickly and keep firing until the Magadorian is reduced to ash. Here, I say, pushing the gun into Ella's hand, and in the comfortable way she takes it. I can tell she's no stranger to firearms. I rush to Creighton. His arm is broken, and blood seeps from gashes on his head and face. But his eyes are open, and he seems alert. I slap my hand on his wrist, and I close my eyes, the iciness crawling over my body and extending to Creighton. I watch the bones in his arms move under the skin, and the gash on his face seal up and disappear. His chest expands and contracts so fast I think his lungs are going to explode. But then he's calm again. He sits up and he moves his arms fluidly. Nice job, he says. He takes the gun from Ella, and we climb through the hole and in the wall and out into Santa Teresa's front grounds. I don't see a single person as Ella and I run ahead and pass through the iron gates while Creighton sweeps his guns back and forth, looking for any reason to fire. My eyes are drawn over Creighton's left shoulder to a quick burst of red from the cathedral's roof. With a loud blast, the discharged rocket surges towards Creighton. I stare at the rocket's tip and I raise my hands, concentrating harder than I ever have. And the very last instant, I'm able to slightly alter the rocket's path. It misses him and it angles towards a mountain, where it hits with a plume of fire. Creighton rushes us through the gates with eyes alert and the gun aimed. He pulls up and he spins around. He shakes his head, and from behind us, we hear the church doors thrust open. He isn't here, Creighton says. Just before he turns around to begin firing, the sound of a squealing tire pierces the air. The plastic covering that had kept the truck concealed falls off, and its backside fishtails as Hector, wide-eyed behind the wheel, floors it. He comes racing our way, and he slams the brakes when he reaches us. The truck screeches to a halt, and Hector reaches across the seat and throws open the passenger side door. I toss my chest beside Hector, and Ella and I jump in. Creighton stays out just long enough to empty his gun as the Magadorians emerging from the church door. Several drop, but there are far too many to get all of them. Creighton jumps in and he slams the door, and the tires bite into the cobblestones in an attempt to find traction. There's the sound of another rocket nearing, but the tires catch and we go down to Calais Principal. I love you, Hector, I say, and I can't help it. The sight of him behind the wheel fills me with such warmth that it brims over the edge. I love you too, Marina. I always told you, stick with Hector Ricardo. He'll take care of you. I never doubted it once, I say, which is a lie. I had doubted it this morning. We reach the bottom of the hill and fly past the signs announcing the town's limits. I twist around to peer out the back window. As Santa Teresa quickly fades behind us, I know it's the last time I'll ever see it. And though I've waited for years to leave, it now holds the sacredness of being Adelena's last resting place. Soon the town is gone and left behind us. Thank you, Senorita Marina, Hector says. For what? I know it's you that cured my dearest mother. She told me it was you, that you were her angel, and I'll never, ever be able to repay you for it. You already have, Hector. I was very happy to help. He shakes his head. I haven't yet, but I'm sure going to try. While Creighton refills both clips and takes inventory of his ammo, Hector navigates the windy and unpredictable road. We bounce and skid along the sharp turns and sudden hills. But despite the speed, it doesn't take long for a convoy of vehicles to be seen in the distance behind us. Don't worry about them, Creighton says. Just get us to the lake. Even though the truck is barreling down the road, the convoy closes the gap. After 10 minutes, a flash of light sails just over the truck and explodes into the countryside ahead of us. Hector instinctively jerks his head down. My God, he says. Creighton turns around and he breaks the back window with the butt of his guns, then fires. The lead vehicle is upended, which makes all of us cheer in celebration. That should keep them far enough back, Creighton says, quickly reloading the gun's clip. As it does for a few minutes, but as the road grows more precarious, and twists down the mountain at sharp declines, the vehicles catch right back up to us. Hector mutters under his breath, and he whips around each bend. The gas pedal is buried, the truck's back tires swinging frighteningly over the edge of the towering cliff. Careful, Hector, Creighton says. Don't kill us before we get there. At least give us a chance. Hector is in control, Hector replies, bringing no comfort whatsoever to Creighton, who keeps a white-knuckle grip on the headrest in front of him. The only refuge is the road's perpetual turns, which keep the Magadorians from getting a straight shot, though they try anyways. As we race around a particularly sharp bend, Hector can't turn us quickly enough as we go off the edge of the road. At a 75-degree angle, the truck races down the dense mountainside, smashing through saplings, bouncing off boulders, barely avoiding thick trees. Ella and I scream. Creighton yells as he flies forward and slams into the windshield. Hector doesn't say a word. He clenches his teeth and he maneuvers us around and over obstacles until we miraculously land on another road. The truck's hood is severely dented and smoking, but the engine is still running. This is a shortcut, Hector says. He tries to gas the pedal, and we quickly tumble down the new road. I think we lost them, says Creighton, looking up the cliff. I pat Hector's shoulder and laugh. Creighton sticks the barrel of his gun out the back window and waits. Eventually, the lake comes into view, and I wonder why Creighton believes the lake will save us. What's the big deal about the lake? I ask. You didn't think I'd come to find you with just Ella, did you? For a moment, I think to tell him that up until a few hours ago, I thought he'd come to kill me. But soon the Magadorians appear behind us again, and Creighton turns around while Hector's eyes dart up the rearview mirror. This is going to be close, Creighton says. We'll get out of it, Papa, Ella says, looking at Creighton, and hearing her call him that fills my heart with affection. He smiles warmly at her, then nods. Ella squeezes my hand. You'll love Olivia, she says to me. Who's Olivia? I ask, but she doesn't get a chance to answer before the road turns into a 90-degree angle and declines sharply towards the lake ahead. Ella tenses in my arms as the road closes. And Hector barely lets up on the gas as the truck rams straight through a chain-link gate that surrounds the lake. We hit a slight bump, and the truck's tires leave the ground entirely before landing on a thud and bouncing on to the shore. Hector speeds straight for the water, and just before we reach it, he slams on the brakes and brings us to skidding to a stop. Creighton shoulders open the passenger side door and dashes towards the lake, rushing straight into the water until it reaches his knees. With the gun still in his left hand, he hurls an object as far as he can with his right and begins muttering something in a language I don't understand. Come on, he screams, thrusting his hands up in the air as though offering encouragement. Come on, Olivia! Hector, Ella, and I rush out, and we run up near him. I have the chest under my arms, and in an instant I see that the water has begun to crest and bubble in the lake's middle. Marina, do you know what a chimera is? But I don't get to answer. Just then, a lone Magadorian vehicle, a tank-like Humvee with a gun mounted on top, erupts onto the scene and speeds down the hill. As it comes right at us in the water, Creighton unloads a barrage of bullets into the windshield. The vehicle instantly goes out of control, crashing straight into the back of Hector's truck. It creates a deafening bang, followed by the crushing of grinding metal and breaking glass. As the dozens of other vehicles in the convoy rumble down the last hill and begin firing, the world erupts in fire and smoke as explosions rock the beach, causing all four of us to hit the ground. Sand and water rain down. We scramble back to our feet. Creighton snags me by the collar. "Get out of here," he yells. I take Ella's hand and we run as fast as we can around the left side of the lake. Creighton begins firing, but it's not one gun I hear, but two. And I can only hope it's Hector's finger pulling the second trigger. We race towards the cluster of trees, sloping down from the mountainside, jutting out all the way to the water's bank. Our footsteps slap on wet stones, and Ella's accelerated pace matches my own. Gunfire continues to rattle through the air, and just as it lets up, a loud animal roar booms over our head, causing me to stop short. I turn and I look at the creature able to create such a paralyzing call, knowing it's not of this world. A long, muscular neck protrudes 10 to 15 stories out of the water, the flesh a gleaming gray, and at the end, a giant lizard head separates its pebbled lips to show an enormous set of teeth. "Olivia!" Ella cheers. Olivia rears her head and lets loose another ear-splitting roar, and in the middle of it, a series of high-pitched yipping sounds roll down from the mountain. I look up to see a pack of small beasts descending toward the lake. I gasp. "What are those?" I ask Ella. "Krulls. Lots of them." Olivia's neck is fully emerged and 30 stories high as it at now. And as the rest of her body surfaces, her neck widens and her torso thickens. The Magadorians immediately fire at her. Olivia slams her head down on several at a time, creating large piles of ash. I can see the dark figures of Creighton and Hector, both with guns blazing. The Magadorians fall back as a hundred Krulls enter the lake and swim towards Olivia. The creature leaps out of the water and the creatures leap out of the water and attack. Many claw their way up Olivia's back, and rip at the base of her neck. The lake water is soon streaked with blood. "No," Ella screams. She tries running back, but I grab hold of her arm. We can't go back," I say. "Olivia!" "That's suicide, Ella. There are too many." Olivia roars in pain. She whips her head at her sides and back, trying to crush and bite the black Krulls that have blanketed her. Creighton aims his gun at the beast, but he lowers his weapon when he realizes he would most likely shoot Olivia in the process. He and Hector instead fire on the army of Magadorians lining up and preparing a new attack. Olivia wavers left and right, howls at the mountains, and backs herself up into the middle of the lake and slowly sinks into a red wave. The Krulls detach and they swim towards the Magadorians. "No!" I hear Creighton yell above the chaos. I watch him try to enter the lake, but Hector pulls him back onto the shore. "Duck!" Ella screams, pulling me down by the arm. A whoosh of air passes over us. A giant black hoof smashes the ground next to me. I look up to see a horned monster. Its head is as large as Hector's truck. When the giant roars, my hair flaps in my face. "Come on," I yell, and we race towards the trees. "Split up," Ella says. I nod and I dart left towards an ancient beech tree with gnarled limbs. I see that I set the chest down and instinctively lift my hands, then pull them apart. To my surprise, the beech trunk opens, creating a hollow space that looks just big enough for two people to fit for two people and a chest to fit. I look over my shoulder to see the creature chasing Ella through a dense line of trees. I toss the chest in the open trunk, and with telekinesis, I pick up 2 trees and send them like missiles at the creature's back. They splinter against its dark skin with a loud crash, knocking it to its knees. I run and grab Ella's shaking hand, pulling her in another direction. The beech tree with my chest comes into view. The tree, Ella, get inside, I yell. She sits atop the chest and tries to make herself as compact as she can, shrinking down to a younger age. That's a pike, Marina, get in, she pleads, and before she can say another word, I close the trunk up around her, leaving just enough room so she can see. I'm sorry, I say through the small crevice, hoping the giant didn't see where I stashed the chest and hidden my friend. I turn and run, trying to lead the pike away, but it soon catches up and knocks me from behind. The force of its hit is shocking, and I fall down a steep slope until my arm finds a boulder to hook on. I look over my shoulder to see that I'm less than a meter from a rocky cliff. The pike appears at the top of the slope. There it shuffles sideways until it's positioned directly above me. It roars so loudly, my mind blanks. I hear Ella scream my name in the distance, but I can't breathe, let alone yell back. It marches down the slope, and I raise one of my hands and uproot a small, spindly tree near me and launch it at the giant's chest. It impales its chest, and it's enough for the pike to lose its footing. As it falls sideways, shrieking and barreling right at me, I close my eyes and I prepare for impact. But instead of smashing me under its weight and knocking me off the cliff, its body hits the boulder I'm holding onto and then bounces over me. I whip my head over my shoulder to see the pike fall down the rocky cliff. I'm finally able to concentrate enough to float myself up the slope. I hurry back towards the beech tree, to Ella, to the chest. I hear the cannons blast a split second before I'm shot. The pain is double anything I felt before, and all I can see is red and flashes of white. I roll around uncontrollably, writhing in agony. Marina! I hear Ella scream. I roll onto my back and I stare at the sky. Blood drips out of my mouth and nose. I can taste it. I can smell it. A few birds circle overhead. As I wait to die, I watch as the sky is taken over by a colossal group of dark, heavy clouds. The clouds crash and roll on top of each other, pulsing as if they're breathing. I think I'm hallucinating, seeing visions before I die, when a massive drop of water hits me right on the cheek. I blink as another hits me above my eyes. Then a bolt of lightning splits the sky into two. A huge Magadorian in gold and black armor stands over me smiling. He presses his cannon against my temple and spits on the ground. But before he pulls the trigger, he looks up at the looming storm. I quickly pace my hands on the gaping wound in my abdomen, feeling the icy familiarity surge under my skin. Then the oncoming rain washes over me as the clouds become a solid wall of darkness. Dun, dun, dun. Chapter 31. You know, the chapters had started getting shorter. Now they're getting a little long. Wow, they're getting a little longer again. Holy cow, wow. That's a pretty long chapter. Well, I think we can start it. I'll find a good place to stop. Chapter 31. Excuse me. Excuse me. By the look on Sam's face, I can tell he's just about lost all faith in getting out of here alive. My own shoulders sag as I stare into the massive white eyes of the beast that's rising to its feet in front of us. It takes its time, stretching its muscular neck, veins as thick as Roman columns protruding on both sides. The dark skin on its face is dry and cracked like the stone jutting above its head. With its long arms, it has a look like an alien gorilla. By the time the giant has pushed itself into a full standing position, 50 feet tall, the handle of my dagger has melted itself around my right hand. Flank it, I yell. Sam runs left and I dart right. The first move is towards Sam, who immediately turns and runs along the circular edge of the moat. The beast lumbers after him. And then when I sprint towards it and slide my dagger right then left, cutting small chunks from its calves, it rears its head and smashes its nose against the ceiling, then swings a hand down at me, one of its fingers connecting with my back leg. I'm sent spinning into the wall where I land on my left shoulder, dislocating it. John, Sam yells. The giant swings for me again, but I'm able to jump out of its path, the path of its fist. The giant may be powerful, but it's slow. Still, the cave we're in is not large enough to run very far, so, slow or not, it still has the advantage. I don't see Sam anywhere as I stagger from boulder to boulder. The giant has a hard time following me, and once I figure I have enough time, I slowly raise my left arm above my head and rotate my hand so that my palm is on the back of my head. The pain shoots from my neck to my heels, and before I give into it, I keep reaching and feel my dislocated shoulder pop back into place. A sense of relief comes over me, but it's short-lived as I look up to see the giant's palm right above my head. I raise my dagger and its blade punctures the beast's palm, but it's not enough to stop it from wrapping its fingers around me. It picks me up, and the strength of its squeeze causes the dagger to fall to the ground. I hear its diamond blade clang, and I'm turned upside down. I search for it so I can use my telekinesis to retrieve it. Sam, where are you? I'm disoriented, but the beast turns me right side up again. It holds me a few feet from its nose. Then I see Sam emerge from a fissure in the wall. He runs and he picks up my blade, and a second later the giant squeals in shock and pain. It squeezes me hard, and I push back against its fingers as much as I can. As it stumbles backwards, I'm able to free my shoulder, arms, and hands. I turn on the lights in my palms, and I shine the lumen directly into its eyes. It's instantly blinded and backs into a wall. Then, when I'm able to pull the rest of my body free and jump, Sam tosses me my dagger, and I charge at the beast, plunging the blade into the skin between every toe. The giant howls. It bends over, and when it does, I shine my lumens again into its eyes. It loses its balance, and I make a boulder behind it dislodge and slams into its lower back. The beast pitches forwards, its long arms streak out to break its falls. Its massive hands land in the moat of steaming green liquid, and the sound of its searing flesh comes a second later. I watch as the beast crashes into the base of the electrical force field and the thick stone pedestal holding the chest. The crash disrupts the force field and sends the pedestals flying across the room, breaking against the stone. The beast lies unmoving. Tell me you planned that, Sam says, following me towards the chest. I wish I could, I say to Sam. Piece of ice. I open my chest to find everything inside, including the coffee can of Henry's ashes and the volatile crystal that's wrapped in the towel. Looks good, I say. Sam picks up the other chest. What happens when we go through the door, Sam says, nodding to the small wooden door we came through. We killed the beast and we have the chest, but we can't turn ourselves invisible and just stroll by hundreds of monks. I open my chest and handle different crystals and objects. But again, I have no idea what most of them do. And the ones I do know how to use can't exactly get me through a mountain of aliens. Looking around the room, I'm losing hope. But after studying the giant's melting skin and disintegrating bones, that I get an idea. With my dagger back in my jeans pocket, I slowly approach the moat of bubbling green liquid. I take a deep breath and I carefully dip a finger in it. Just as I had hoped, it's scalding hot, but merely tickles my skin like fire. It's like green lava. Sam, yeah? When I say open the door, I want you to open it and get out of the way immediately. What are you going to do, he asks. Visions of Henry running the Loric crystal over me as I lie on the coffee table. My hands in open flames run through my mind. I dunk my hand into the moat and I pick up a dipping scoop of green lava. I close my eyes and concentrate. When I open them, the liquid is hovering over my hand in a perfect flaming ball. This, I guess, I say. Wicked, Sam says. Sam runs over to the wooden door, and I nod to show him I'm ready. He rips the door open and dives to the right. A cluster of heavily armed Mogs are running our way, but when they catch sight of the fiery green ball coming their way, they try to turn around. As the ball is about to splash on the chest of the first Mog, I use my mind to spread it out like a fiery blanket. Several Mogs are hit, and after a moment of burning torture, they turn to ash. I wing ball after ball of green lava at more Mogs, knocking them down. Sam collects a pile of their guns. And once there's a lull in the advancement, I grab 2 more balls of green liquid and I run out the door. Sam follows me with a long black gun under each arm. The number of Mogs running down the dark tunnel is staggering. And with the flashing lights and piercing sirens in a sensory overload, Sam pulls both trigger and mows down a row after row of Mogs. But they keep coming. When he's out of bullets, Sam grabs 2 more guns. I could use some help here, he yells, mowing down another line of them. I'm thinking. The mucus-covered wall of the tunnels don't appear to lend themselves to spreading a decent fire, but I don't have enough of the green lava in my hands to do enough damage. To my left are silver gas tanks and silos with their heavy pipes, spouts, and aluminum ducts. Next to the tallest of the silos, I eye a control panel with electrical wires pouring out. I can hear the screams and roars of the beasts in the bar chambers farther down the hall and wonder how hungry they are. I toss a flaming ball at the control panel and it disintegrates in a storm of sparks. The bars on the chamber lining the walls begin to rise, and that's when I toss the other green ball at the base of the gas tanks and silos. I grab hold of Sam and I sprint with him back into the giant's chamber. As the explosion erupts, I whip Sam against the stone section between the wooden door and the rising steel gate and allow the advancing wave of flames to sweep over me. My ears are flooded with the crackle and hum of fire. Dozens of crawls burst out from their open chamber and attack a series of unexpected Mogs from behind. Several Pikins stomp into the tunnel with their roars and swinging arms. The reptilian mutant with horns charges towards the back of the tunnel, plowing over Mogs and crawls under the legs of the Pikings, and the gargoyle winged creatures buzz at the ceilings, sweeping down to take a bite out of anything they can. And the monster with transparent skin sinks in its row of teeth into the calf of a Pikin. All that happens in a matter of seconds, and they're overtaken by a sea of fire. After a few minutes, once the fire escapes up the spiral cavern at the end of the tunnel to continue the wreak of havoc throughout the mountain, the long corridor in front of me is littered with piles of ash and black monster bones. I extinguish the fire surrounding me, and I brush my hands off onto my thighs. Sam is singed, but otherwise okay. Brilliant, dude, he says. Let's just try to get the hell out of here, and then we can celebrate. I stick my chest under my arm, and Sam picks up the other. We race through the fire's destruction. The stench of death is choking. The charred ladder at the end of the tunnel appears stable, and with only one hand apiece, we climb with difficulty. Our feet hit the burned and blackened spiral ledge, and we sprint around and around until we reach the cave center. The inferno I unleashed did much more damage than I thought it would. We see piles and piles of ash, but we also see hundreds of Mogs crawling out of different corridors and tunnels on their hands and knees, burned or still on fire, barking in pain, unable to pick up their guns, unable to do anything as we jump over them. There are other soldiers racing above us on ledges, some with weapons in their hands, others with the wounded. I'm confused which way the exit is, and as I lead us through a series of tunnels, with my pendant swinging around my neck, Sam and I each pick up a discarded gun. We run with them chest high, firing at anything that gets in our way. Even though we don't know where we're going, we don't stop moving until we come to cells with the human prisoners. That's when I know for certain we've gone the wrong way. I pull Sam in the other direction, but he plants his feet and he stops me. I can see the concern and the hope on his face. The cells have steel doors stuck a foot above the door, and bubbling blue force fields have disappeared. They're open, Johnny yells, tossing his chest at my feet. Excuse me, I drop my gun, and I pick up the other chest, and Sam finally says what I knew. What if my dad's here? I look into Sam's eyes, and I know we have to check. He runs along the left side of the corridor, yelling into each cell for his dad. I'm investigating the cells on the right when a boy of my age with long black hair sticks his head under the door. When he sees me, he puts a hand cautiously into the corridor. The force field is really gone, he shouts. I think so, I yell. Sam hoists his gun over his shoulder and he ducks his head under the boy's cell door. Do you know a man named Malcolm Goody, 40 years old, brown hair? Is he here? Have you seen him? Shut up and stand back, kid, I hear the boy say. There's a grittiness in his voice, something that makes me uneasy. I immediately pull Sam aside and the boy grips the bottom of the door and rips it from the wall, tossing it into the corridor like a frisbee. The ceiling cracks and boulders fall. I use telekinesis to shield Sam and me from being crushed. Before I can say a word, the boy emerges, clapping the dust off his hands. He's taller than I am, shirtless and muscular. Sam steps forward, and to my surprise, he aims his gun at the boy's head. Just tell me, do you know my dad, Malcolm Goody? Please. The boy looks past Sam and his weapon, focusing on the chest under my arms. That's when I notice the 3 scars on his leg, just like mine. He's one of us. I drop the other chest to the ground, in shock. What number are you? I'm 4. He squints at me, then offers his hand. I'm 9. Good job staying alive, number 4. He reaches for the chest I've dropped. Sam lowers his gun, retreating down the corridor, stopping every few seconds to look inside his cell. 9 places his hand on his chest, and the lock instantly shakes and snaps open. A yellow glow lights up his face when he opens the lid. Hell yeah, he laughs, placing his hand inside. 9 pulls out a tiny red rock and he shows it to me. You have one of these? I don't know, maybe. I'm embarrassed by how little I understand the items in my own chest. 9 places the rock between his knuckles and aims his fist at the nearest wall. A white cone of light appears, and instantly we can see through the wall into the empty cell. Sam runs in our direction. Wait, you have X-ray vision? What number is the nerd? 9 asks me, digging around his chest. That's Sam. He's not Loric, but he's our ally. He's looking for his dad. He tosses Sam the red rock. This will make shit go faster, Sammy. Just aim and squeeze. He's human, dude, I say. He can't use this stuff. 9 places his thumb on Sam's forehead. Sam's hair blows upward, and I can smell electricity in the air. Sam stumbles backwards. Whoa! 9 ducks his hand back into the chest. You've got about 10 minutes. Get to it. I'm amazed that 9 has the ability to transfer power to humans. Sam runs down the corridor, inspecting cells with a flick of the wrist. When he gets to the large metal door at the end, he aims the rock, exposing more than a dozen armed mogs on the other side. One is twisting together exposed wires in an open keypad. Sam, I yell, picking up my gun. Get back! Whoosh, the door rises and the mogs rush forward. Sam sprints away, firing over his shoulder. You have any other legacies yet? I ask 9 over the sound of my gun. He winks, and then he's gone, running along the cracked ceiling at super speed. The mogs don't notice 9 until he's dropped behind him. By then, it's too late. He's a tornado, ripping through them with ferocity I didn't know Loric possessed. Even 6 would be impressed. Sam and I stop firing, let 9 dismember each mog with his bare hands. When he's finished, Nine runs back along the left wall of the corridor before circling to the ceiling and then to the right wall, with a cloud of ash trailing him. Anti-gravity, Sam says. Now that's a cool legacy. Nine skids to a stop in front of his chest, and he kicks it shut. I can also hear pretty well, for miles. Okay, let's go, I say, scooping up my chest. Nine easily places his on his shoulder, and he grabs a gun from the floor. What about the other cells, he asks Sam, pointing down the corridor. 100 more cell doors line the walls past where the Mogs entered. We have to go, I say, knowing we're already pushing our luck. It's only a matter of seconds before we'll be surrounded, but there's no persuading Sam. He runs under the large door, still holding the red rock. Another dozen Mogs suddenly appear before a hidden tunnel enters between us. Sam braces himself against the wall and he fires. I see a few of the Mogs burnt to ash, and then my view is blocked by a swarm of drooling Krulls. Focusing my thoughts on a boulder, I whip it at the Krulls, smashing all but a few. Nine catches a Krull with the back of its leg and smashes the beast against the wall. He crushes another two. When he's done, he turns to me laughing. I'm about to ask what's so funny when he launches a boulder right at me. I barely jump out of the way, and a moment later, my back is covered with black ash. They're everywhere, he laughs. We have to get Sam. I try to run past Nine when enormous pike in hand snatches both of us. Sam, I yell, Sam! That's a good place to stop. Dun, dun, dun. Book is getting good. It's been good. And it's getting even better. Holy crow. Page 383. Which means we have, we have 23 pages to read. I wonder if we're going to finish this bad boy the next time we read. We might. Well, my friends, another great night of reading. But I had one of those days today. And, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit. My family is not a very big family. And my mom, her family, when my grandmother died, I was 16 years old. And my grandmother was really the glue that kept my family together. And after she died, I really didn't get to see my mom's side or my dad's side. My dad didn't have a very big family. And unfortunately, it just all kind of fell apart. And my mom had a younger sister and an older brother and an older sister. But my oldest aunt, she passed away when I was in college. And my mom died, it'll be 2 years in October. So about, about a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago, a year and 9 months ago. And then a year ago, almost to the day, her little sister passed away. And then Sunday, I got a text from my aunt that my uncle, my mom's older brother, very unexpectedly had developed some liver disease and was put into hospice. So, I got to go see him yesterday and, got to be with him for a while. And it wasn't easy, those things are never easy. And, I got to keep him. I got to, stay with him. And I brought my dad, who was his brother-in-law, and we spent time. And I got to, I asked my aunt if there was anything I could do. And, when you're in hospice care, there are people that come into the house and help. But my uncle was uncomfortable, and we sled him up. I pulled him up on the bed and got him comfortable and everything. And we got to say our goodbyes. But then this afternoon, my aunt reached out to me that, he had passed away. And so it was, kind of a sad day. And I wasn't very close to my uncle. I really hadn't seen him much. but he was the last of that generation to go, and he had seen his three sisters die. So I think it was probably, that was very difficult for him. But, these are moments in life that we learn from. And, when my mom found out that she had cancer, the doctor said, 6 to 9 months, and they very much knew that it was a miracle to treat it. And they did start to treat it, but the treatment had started to kill my mom. And, it was doing more damage than it was helping. And I got to be with my mom, and I got to be by her side. And, that was one of the most difficult but rewarding things I ever did in my life. It was, I literally slept in a chair. As a matter of fact, the chair I slept in is right over there on the other side of my living room. It was my mom's chair, and she was in a bed in the house. The hospice, they come and they set you up with all these different things. And my mom was on, oxygen and all this kind of stuff. But it was, it was very tough to say the least. But it was, I was glad that I was there, and I was glad that I got to see my uncle. So, anyways, and then I drove home, and I went to my car this morning. Well, about noontime, and the car wouldn't start. Son of a biscuit. So the other day, the back passenger door, I don't know, something like a seatbelt or something got caught in it. And the light, wasn't going on, or the light had been on or whatever. So when I had started the car, it was like, vroom, 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 but it started. So I thought maybe the light had gone on it. So somebody came over and gave me a jump. I drove to my friend's house. I turned off the car, turned it back. It was fine. So then I got home tonight, and I forgot that I had to stop and get cat food. And car's dead again. So I was like, son of a gun. So you know what? Sometimes when it rains, it pours, they say, right? But, things could be worse, I guess, is why I'm telling you all this. Life goes on. We go on. We have these things in our lives that pose challenges and obstacles, and it's how we get over them and get through them, how we push them out of the way, that I think is sometimes what's most rewarding in life. Not to go into incredible detail, but I really had a very difficult time, and I was losing my patience when my mom was in hospice, and very much losing patience with, let's just say, certain family members. And, I just did my thing, and I just remembered that I needed to be there for my mom, and I let all that stuff roll off. And I think that taught me an incredible life lesson to prioritize. I think that's what happens in life at different times. Different things happen to us, and then we go, part of my language, but we go, all this shit, right? This is just silly shit. Why are we worrying about this? And that was, I guess I look back on that experience of 10 days. My mom came home. I pretty much, after my mom found out she had cancer, I pretty much moved into their house, and I stayed with them. I didn't, not every night, but I didn't get to really see my boys for, about, the 3 months. Because, I think it was July 3rd we found out, and then my mom passed away October 8th. So I didn't get to see my sons a whole heck of a lot. And sometimes what I did is I went and I worked, and then I went to see my sons, and then I came back and I stayed with my parents. My dad is blind, so I just, it was my duty to be there, and I don't regret it for a second. But especially the last 10 days I don't remember a lot of it, and it's very weird because like if I try to think back and I remember, I can't. But then something will happen, and I start to remember these little moments because I really wasn't sleeping very regularly. And what I was doing was I'd go to sleep, and then I'd get up at like 4:30 in the morning, and I would drive to Mahonison. I would get all the photocopying and anything I needed to do for like a day or two. And then I would start texting teachers that were going to cover for me or whatever. And that's actually when I really started using Google Classroom a lot. And, that was a moment in my life where I really just started to say, there's just a lot of nonsense that I worry about that I just don't need to, I shouldn't worry about. I shouldn't let it stress me. Like worrying is okay. But when you let these things, overcome you and control you, I think that's where, where you need to wake up and say, okay, I just, there's bigger fish to fry. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you guys, a little life lesson from Mr. Martin. You're always learning in life. I think if when people stop learning, when people say, I don't have anything left to learn in life, I don't think that's a good attitude. I really don't. And I'm always looking for different ways to make myself better, to make myself a better person, to make myself a better dad, a better teacher, a better human. And I think that's what I try to take out of these lessons. Is just that, So anyway, one more day, guys, and I think one more good night of reading, and we'll be done with the book. Now, this is what I'm going to say. I don't know what the next few days will bring, but I do plan on Friday night, Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. I do plan on Friday night reading, and then we'll finish up the book. And then we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of jiving with these, and I'm almost wondering maybe we should go to book 3. Yeah, maybe we'll jump into book 3. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, I'm going to call it a night. I got to get up early, and I got to get my car taken care of and all this kind of stuff. I hope you guys are doing well. Be good. Stay out of trouble. And keep running the marathon, my friends. I will talk to you soon.